Hey, what's up guys? How's it going? So, if you've done everything correctly up to this point, you should now have a thriving civilization. You should have, not one, but two, hopefully. More than one reservoir at this point. You have plenty of food and a cook. And you need to assign one person to the hospital. And at this point, you should have a fairly thriving population. Mind you, that you will notice that water upkeep is a problem. And it's oftentimes a constant. So, in my experience, just wherever you're building your water at, continue to build more of these. And obviously continue to increase your your actual input slash output of water, because you're going to find that oftentimes it's going to be a constant. Now, one of the things you definitely don't want to forget is a cemetery. But in my experience, keep your cemetery preferably somewhere where you're never going to go. In my case, stone's a pretty valuable thing. That's a pretty valuable thing. But where I don't go would be out here.
Let's hope that nuggets don't overreact to the falling leaves this year.
Now we'll put that all the way over there, just to kind of avoid the repercussion of ghosts. Because, yeah, that's a thing. And, of course, we're going to make more of these so that we can keep up with our upcoming water demands. So we'll just go ahead and kind of keep that up. So that's going to be a constant. So we'll just go ahead and... Of course, I don't recommend going anywhere past about 4. Because at a certain point you can then just use material refinement to upgrade and go from 20 to 60. So don't go overkill unless you just want to stay in this particular age permanently. In which case then, make as many as your heart's delight. But having that said, at this point it's just a matter of keeping your population happy, maintaining their supply, and making sure that they're fed. Now, I would say that at some point you may want to consider making more than one water pit, mainly because at some point it does become kind of problematic if you don't. Now, you might notice at this point that they have kind of already made a pathway, and they are starting to settle over here. And they're doing that for a will. And that's okay. But always make sure that wherever your little nuggets are running off to, you want to make sure that you have the necessary water wherever they go. Or if you want, you don't have to, and they won't expand that way because they'll naturally die off going that way. Obviously, as I get farther and farther away, I'm making sure that I don't have just a little bit, but I'm having multiple water pits, because in my experience, if they don't get access to water, that is a serious problem for your workers, and it can be oftentimes drastically impossible to actually aid them when they actually go downhill. So you want to make sure that you don't make that mistake, at least early on. Now, having that said, at this point you can see that they're thriving. At this point, we're at a point where we could now potentially increase our food supply here, and we can go up and up from here and out. Obviously, like I had told you, at some point you are going to suffer a water shortage, which I'm about to quite soon. But because of not one, but 2 supplies of water, it's not all over. This is why you want to build more than one reservoir, because otherwise it could be bad. Keyword is can be. Luckily for us, it's not going to be too bad. So we still have access to water, but it's frozen. So that's probably not a good thing. Rowing a boat? Yeah. It's kind of sapling. Obviously, that's one problem with building in an area like this, is that they're prone to water shortages. This is not what you want. So, in this case, we need to heat the water up. Not so easy to do in the winter. that's not terribly easy to fix this, at least starting out. But you know, one way that you could is, well, you can, if you want, just go into here, and at some point you'll get access to season change, and you can go that route, and there's no harm in that. As you can tell, I've up to this point have not ever used like Cupidon, hardly ever. I don't use Jolt of Joy all that often, and I just stay true to using telekinesis where possible. Obviously, you know, it helps to kind of avoid this kind of situation, at least in the winter, but this is, like I said, where usually things are going to go downhill, especially when your civilization kind of thrives on water, and without it, doesn't really do a whole lot of anything.
All unique to one another.
And
Although
a
there
whole
are
lot.
some things that are shared between nuggets. These include the need for certain essentials like food and water, a stable roof over their heads, and an occasional nap. They want to learn, build, discover, and create.
Sure.
It would all be quite inspirational if they also didn't happen to be the species that initially thought their shadows were trying to eat them.
Okay, now let's make sure. Again, mind you, because we're not going to use this area, we want to try and make sure that we stay true to that. And that's ultimately it for this particular episode, guys. Just focus on that, and you should be good to go. See you guys then.